Hello, hello, hello. I'm Hojo.
And I'm Hunnsy.
And welcome to this, the 36th episode of Hojo and Hunnsy's Hard Rock House, the safe space, we always say it, for old rock dummies just like us, where you mustn't bother calling us on 10th of September 2025, because Hunnsy won't be here, because he's just got very excited about the fact that Jet Boy and Pretty Boy Floyd are playing in the UK on what's called the LA Glam Invasion Tour. Oh, you're so excited, aren't you?
Yeah, let's not forget the third band in the bill, a band called Zurich, who I've never heard of, so I'm excited.
Who I called Insurance Metal. Yeah. Sorry. And Zurich. Really exciting.
Yeah, I think I'm more excited about Pretty Boy Floyd than Jet Boy. I could never get my head around Jet Boy. I got their first record, Feel the Shake. I didn't feel the shake, no. No.
That's terrible.
Whereas Pretty Boy Floyd just amused me endlessly.
Why were they amusing? I don't know anything about Pretty Boy Floyd. Except I once tried to contact the fella to do an interview for Rock Candy magazine and never got back to me. So any ideas as to why they didn't make it? Answers on the back of a postcard, please. If they couldn't be bothered to get back to me for an interview in Rock Candy magazine, there's your answer. They're too busy putting the makeup on and teasing the hair. Fair dues.
They piqued my interest at the time purely and simply because they took the glam look to a completely different, uber ridiculous level. Just Google photographs of them.
Yeah, I'm going to do it right now while you're talking.
There was a trend a few years ago, people posting photographs of ridiculous heavy metal bands, right?
I can't see how that could have taken off.
There was a band called Trix, Tryx, of course.
Right, yeah, obviously. Were they too silly for you, Pretty Boy Floyd? They look like the kind of band, in my mind, when I think about you and the music you like, that's exactly the band I think of.
I think they went too far.
You can't go too far in metal, Hunnsy, surely.
Because you've got to remember, at that time, when you were going out and you were into that whole sort of hair metal thing.
Yes.
We've all dipped our toes in the same way we've dipped our toes in the Black Sea, and we all went a bit gothy at certain points. We all dipped our toes in the glam ocean. I'm going to try and emulate with that Nicky Six look. And Pretty Boy Floyd, I just looked at it and went, there's absolutely no chance I'm going out on a Saturday night in Newcastle City Centre dressed like any of these burks, right? Because I will literally get the shit kicked out of me.
That was something that you had to take into account, wasn't it? When you were interested in the mid-80s Sunset Strip scene, but lived in Newcastle or Birmingham, where I was, you did have to contemplate the fact that someone might want to beat the living daylights out of you for looking like that.
Yeah, I'm not slagging Pretty Boy Floyd off, right?
Oh, sorry. What are we doing?
I just think they were giving you a brief that was hard to answer, right?
Hard to match.
First of all, where am I going to buy the clothes that they're wearing?
Well, wherever I bought those legendary black spandex trousers, of which we often speak.
Yeah.
Down on King's Road in London.
You didn't buy them at, was it Affleck's Palace in Manchester?
Affleck's Palace was Manchester. It was the Underground Market in Birmingham. I'm saying you could get hold of them if you had a real desire.
I just couldn't.
Of course not.
I just couldn't.
No normal person from Newcastle is going to do that.
Which photographs are you currently looking at?
I'm looking at the ultimate Pretty Boy Floyd, because apparently it's on Cleopatra Records.
Oh, the one where the singer's got a red leather jacket on and a hat.
You obviously know the picture. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The first song's called Gangster of Love. It's not the Gangster of Love, is it?
No, I don't think it is.
It can't be, can it?
I don't think it is.
It's because Gangster of Love. Who was Gangster of Love? Steve Miller?
Steve Miller, yeah.
It's not that one.
It's not.
Hold on. Should we do the new thing that we've decided we're going to do every week?
Which is?
I'm going to go to my streaming platform.
No. This cannot become a new thing.
Why?
If you are going to do it, play Rock and Roll's going to set the world on fire.
No, we're playing Gangster of Love. I'm dread at the controls.
All right, okay.
Why shouldn't we do this?
Because we'll get cancelled.
By whom?
The internet people.
Oh, yeah, they will. They'll tell us we can't do it, won't they? Okay, last week, tonight, and never again for fear of being cancelled. But just this once. Come on, I've got to hear it. Here we go. Yes!
It's not bad, is it?
Some horns there.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Hell.
You know he's twiddling his sticks at this point.
Yeah, very much so. Oh, it's Vince Neil on vocals.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got to stop that right there for fear of being sued. Yeah. But it started quite well. I like the horns. And then Vince Neil came in and it was just all over for me there.
Yeah. So musically, I thought they were all right. I just couldn't
No.
No, I just couldn't.
You just couldn't.
Fast forward, 40 years? I'm very interested to what they're going to wear on stage and what they're going to look like now.
Well, if I'm looking at the pictures, sort of fairly recent pictures, not much has changed.
Really?
By the look of things.
Wow. Okay.
They've obviously gone a bit more grunge, of course.
Yeah.
Because doesn't everybody? But they're still a bit glammy.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Yeah,
well, I don't know about excellent.
Well, I'm going to go and see them in September, and I'll do a review for the pod.
Okay. Fantastic.
And Jet Boy as well. Now, obviously, you know someone in Jet Boy, don't you?
Yeah, Billy Rose, my friend. And we were talking before we came on air as to whether he's actually still in the band, because he's been, shall we use the old phrase, plying his trade?
In the lower leagues.
Kind of. And he was in the lower leagues with Jet Boy, wasn't he, really?
Yeah.
Good old Billy. But he's been in Buck Cherry for the last 3 or 4 years and doing very well.
Yeah, they're a good band, Buck Cherry.
But I don't know whether he's in this revitalised version of Jet Boy. The tour is called the LA Glam Invasion Tour.
Yeah.
So if they don't turn up looking like they did in 86, there's going to be a lot of disgruntled punters, aren't there?
I would imagine so.
Do you think it's okay? We talked about the battle jacket last week and you thought it was okay if it was on stage, and I poo-pooed that because that's not very thrash. You've got to live it. But I think it is all right if you get the dressing up box out if you're a glam band, don't you? I don't expect glam bands to look like that 24/7.
No, but I'm kind of hoping that when they come on stage, they do their best.
One of the things that I like about when people persist with that is when you're old and you're trying to look like a glam youngster.
Yes.
It's just really funny, isn't it? It's the widow twanky thing. You start looking like something out of pantomime, not something out of rock and roll.
Yeah, you're hanging on a little bit, aren't you?
But what do you do if you've been famous for being in a Pretty Boy glam band and then suddenly you're 60 and you've had a couple of goes on the foot pump and your skin's sagging a little bit and you haven't been able to afford the very best plastic surgeon that Hollywood has to offer? What do you do?
It's an interesting subject, this, because it does lead on nicely into what I've been listening to, because I love this record, but I went down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole just to see what the singer of this band's doing now. And he's still playing and he's still doing songs by the band that he was known for. He's got a different band now and all that sort of stuff. So it feels like more of a solo project, but he's doing a lot of the hits that this band had. So there's lots of footage on YouTube and he looks fantastic. I wouldn't say they were a glam band, but he was a very pretty boy and they didn't hold back on the outfits. Not to the extent of Pretty Boy Floyd, but they used to wear the, why are you wearing that jacket? It's just silly type thing. And he's still out there now doing it and his voice still sounds great. He's dropped it down a couple of keys for obvious reasons, but he's just wearing jeans, pair of Converse, t-shirt. He's rocking it, man. And he just looks brilliant. So he hasn't gone, oh, I was a bit of a pretty boy. I still need to be a pretty boy. I think he's just embraced his age and he's still doing it.
Okay, so put me out of my misery. Who is this and what's the album you've been listening to?
Well, the guy I'm referring to is a guy called Mike Tramp. He was the singer from White Lion, and the album I've been listening to is their second studio album, probably the one that broke them. Not broke them in a bad way, but like broke them in terms of like, you know.
I think I helped break them in a bad way.
I think you did. The album Pride. 1987 on Atlantic Records. I had a couple of big hits on it, but the album in general it's all killer, no filler for me. I wouldn't call it an AOR album. I would say it's kind of glam. They weren't Sunset Strip glam, but they were definitely lumped into that period of music.
Yeah.
Just a really good, solid rock band. And they had a brilliant guitarist, Vito Brato. He had a real feel to his playing. Some of the choruses, man, on this record are just absolutely brilliant. The big hit was Wait and When the Children Cry, which is that weepy ballad, but they're not the best tracks on the album by a long shot. You know, the best tracks on the album, Lady of the Valley, what a riff. Tell Me's a brilliant track.
You're quite excited about this record.
It's a brilliant record. I love this record. It's one of those records that, you know, when you're going, oh, what am I going to listen to today? It's just one of those records that I go back to. Just fucking love it. Here's
the thing, right? Mike Tramp, I've interviewed Mike on a few occasions. He's a very nice man. I get on very well with him. He's a good chap. He doesn't hold a grudge, as I'll explain in a bit. Doesn't hold a grudge. But I completely ignored White Lion. By the time White Lion were having their day in the sun, and it was a big day in the sun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was huge.
They did really, really well. Let me see what they were saying about how they got to number 11 in 1987 when that album came out. It's a big, big record. A lot of records being sold at that point of time. So for them to have got to number 11, it's double platinum, it says here. But I had long since parted company with Pretty Boy middle of the road American radio rock by then. I was listening to very different things. So I've never heard Pride by White Lion. But when I look at it now, I'm going through it on the mighty Wikipedia, and I'm never going to listen to this record, Hunnsy.
What, even after I've just said how good it is?
Yeah, even after, because any record that has songs called Lonely Nights,
great song.
Don't Give Up,
Great song.
When the Children Cry.
Well, that's a ballad.
And all you need is rock and roll.
Yeah, that's a good song.
There's nothing for me there, Hunnsy. There's nothing for me there.
All right, okay.
It's so cliched, isn't it? Sweet little loving. Oh, God, no.
That's a great song. So there's nothing I can do to try and persuade you to listen to it.
You'd have to have me snorting an awful lot of whiskey before I would take a listen to that album. I really like Mike Tramp. I really do. He's a nice man. I don't in any way want to equate my distaste for this kind of music with a distaste for the person, because he's great. But no. How many times have I heard titles like that in my life?
Oh, well.
You have to stand up for it, though. You have to stand up for the rock and roll that you like.
Yeah, I loved this album at the time when it came out.
Do you not care whether people have lyrics that you've heard a million times before, every cliche in the book?
Well, if I did, I would never listen to AC/DC.
Yeah, so you're not bothered. Yeah, so you're not bothered. Well, I would argue that's different, because only since Brian's been involved have AC/DC's lyrics gone terrible. Bond's lyrics were really clever and really funny.
A Manowar, then. If I was bothered by lyrics...
You keep going for the wrong examples, though, because you like Manowar because you believe everything that they say.
Yes, I do.
That all men do play on 10.
They do.
And wimps and posers should leave the hall.
Exactly, they should. Get the fuck out.
I wouldn't last 5 minutes at a Manowar gig. They'd have me exposed as a false metal person and I'd be out the door.
Well, no, you're a member of the Legion of Metal Brothers. You'd be alive.
How would they square that off, though? They'd be in a conundrum there, wouldn't they? I'm in the Legion of Metal Brothers, so surely I have a right to be in their concerts. But they know that I'm false metal. Yeah. So there you go. There's a conundrum for Manowar there. But you're not going to be able to persuade me that there's anything there in an album with titles like that. What I do know is Vito Bratta went to ground, didn't he? After White Lion, he was never really heard of again. He just decided he didn't want to do it, didn't he?
I think so, but he was a brilliant guitarist.
Did we talk about why Mike Tramp is a very forgiving man? Did we tell the single-digit listeners why?
I think so. I know the answer to that.
It was because in 1989, when White Lion released their third studio album, which was called Big Game, I'm just going to go back and see the titles, just to give me a flavour. Going Home Tonight. No G on going, obviously. Going Home Tonight.
Yeah.
Dirty Woman. Oh, There's a song called Living on the Edge. I've never heard a song called that before. There's a song called Let's Get Crazy. There's one called Don't Say It's Over.
You are horrible. You really are.
I'm not horrible. I'm just explaining my reasoning. So anyway, I reviewed Big Game for Kerrang! Magazine. And I'm
going to stop you there. So as a professional journalist...
Yes.
Reviewing an album by a band.
Yes.
Yeah, you would have known that this was the follow-up to a massive album. You didn't bother to go and listen to Pride.
Well, I probably did at the time. I can't remember. This is 40 years ago, Hunnsy.
You just immediately went, nah, this is rubbish based on the fact that they've got a song title that I've heard before.
I didn't say that. I said it was not announcing itself as very promising with titles like that. I'm seeing if I can find my review of White Lion's Big Game. All I know is that I really, really didn't like this record, did I?
No. The review was kicking around somewhere.
I've probably got it somewhere, but I don't have it in front of me. Yeah. Because I didn't know you were going to mention this album today. But anyway, let's say I didn't like it. And when I spoke to Mike many, many years ago, he genuinely believed that it had something to do with their career falling off a cliff, because I gave their album a bad review, which I thought was giving me far too much credit, frankly.
How many Ks did you give it out of
5?
1.
1. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Oh, dear. Can you remember vaguely what you didn't like about it?
I doubt I've listened to it since 1989, because obviously if you don't like it, you don't bother listening to it again, do you?
Yeah.
I imagine I just went, it's every cliche of radio-friendly, not very metal rock music that's just made to sell lots of records to housewives in Oklahoma.
They really toned it down. It was very wimpy. It wasn't as heavy as Pride.
Still managed to get to number 19 on the Billboard charts and go gold, so it wasn't a complete failure or anything like that.
I wasn't a big fan of that album. I felt a little bit disappointed with that record.
Okay, well, were you influenced by my review, though? That planted the seed that you were going to go, oh, no, it's no good.
I never took on board any of your reviews, to be honest with you.
Didn't give a shit what you thought.
I was more of a Jeff Barton.
Whatever Jeff said, you went for.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what I have been listening to?
Yeah.
Well, I've been listening to an album that has absolutely fuck all to do with White Lion.
All right, okay.
You might have heard the band it's by. It's called Kiss. Album called Dress to Kill.
Funnily enough, I do know it, yes. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why I picked this one out of the rock and roll hat to play when I was looking for something to play this week. But I'm very glad I did. Number one, Dress to Kill is my favourite Kiss album. Do you know why?
Because you like the sleeve, because the sleeve's pretty cool.
There you go. Sleeve, number one. You know how I said I can't possibly like an album with some really shit titles on it? But I can like an album if it has a very cool sleeve on it. So, I'm very contrary. I'm a very contrary man.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. But Dress to Kill is a very cool sleeve, isn't it? Because they're wearing some dynamite suits, aren't they? On the cover.
Yeah.
Really cool. And Gene's got a pair of white clogs on.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
He looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, where was that shot taken? Do you know?
It looks like New York. I have no idea. But the photograph of the band on the album cover was taken on the southwest corner of West 23rd and 8th Avenue, looking north in New York City. There you go. So now we know. But this is the album that, for me, absolutely knocks everything else by Kiss into a cocked hat. And loads of people are going to get out of their prams on that, aren't they? They're going to go, how dare you say that? The first Kiss album is brilliant. Rock and Roll Over is brilliant. Creatures of the Night is brilliant. I'm not going to say Revenge is brilliant.
Sonic Boom. Oh, no.
Yeah. Sorry. No. Nobody's going to be that stupid. I really, really like Dress to Kill because it doesn't sound like any other Kiss album, in my opinion. I don't quite know how to describe the music on it. Do you? I think it sounds more like a rock and roll record. You could almost imagine, this sounds completely mad because it's come to me off the top of my head, but opening song Room Service, I could almost imagine like Chuck Berry doing it or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling low with no place to go. That's the one, isn't it? You think about it. And I think I'm gonna leave. It sounds like a Chuck Berry R&B type song.
It's very different, isn't it?
I think it doesn't really sound like most Kiss records.
No.
Don't know what they were trying to do. And do you remember Getaway? That's another one. It's like pop R&B. I've been trying to get away. The legend of Kiss goes that they didn't sell dick until Kiss Alive made it all happen for them. But this information that I'm getting here gives the lie to that, because this says that Dress to Kill got to number 32 on the Billboard charts. Not bad. Went gold, 500,000 sales. Now, whether that means in the time it was around it went gold or later when they got massive and people went back and discovered the back catalogue, I don't know. But 32 is not a bad performance, is it?
Pretty good. What was the follow-up to this record?
Well, it's Kiss Alive, isn't it? I think that comes after this. And that's the one that breaks them. And then they come back with Destroyer after that. Yeah. And Destroyer goes mad. But I think that Dress to Kill isn't talked about very often. I don't know why. It's got Rock and Roll All Night on. Some people would probably say that's the most famous Kiss song of all. Maybe I'm not living in Kiss world enough, and people do talk about this record all the time. In a lot of American podcasts discussing the brilliance of Kiss, maybe Dress to Kill is hailed, but not in my world.
Well, it'll be one of those albums people love to talk about deep cuts.
What's your favourite deep cut off Dress to Kill? Shall I tell you what my favourite? It's not really a deep cut, but I do love it. And it's got some of my favourite lyrics ever. She's a dancer, a romancer.
Yeah, Capricorn.
I'm a Capricorn and she's a Cancer. It's just a brilliantly camp rock song.
Yeah.
She saw my picture in a music magazine.
Kiss are absolutely up there with some of the best / worst ways of rhyming two words together.
But I think a lyric like that is very different to a lyric like on those White Lion albums, because I think that sounds very tongue-in-cheek. There's a nod and a wink when you're writing that. It's just funny. Whereas I think those White Lion lyrics sound terribly pompous and nothing funny or humorous or self-deprecating or knowing about it.
Yeah, I take your point.
And also, Peter Criss doing the lead vocal on Getaway. Forget Beth, that's commercial nonsense. Him singing Getaway, that's brilliant.
I didn't really discover Kiss until Kiss Alive 2.
Well, you would have been very young when Kiss Alive 2 came out.
Yeah, I was, but my brother had it.
That was 77, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Kiss Alive 2 was the first record I actually bought with my own money.
I didn't discover Kiss until the solo album, and then started discovering Love Gun and Destroyer and eventually getting into the weeds with Dress to Kill.
I went and discovered the first record.
I thought you were going to say, I had some demos by Wicked Lester, man.
Dress to Kill, just missed it.
To me, that's an undiscovered gem. Of course, Kiss, as far as I was concerned, after Creatures of the Night, after that, forget it. It was over.
Yeah.
No more Kiss after Creatures of the Night, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you.
And their best records of the later period were the ones that all the rock fans turned their noses up at. Dynasty and Unmasked. Brilliant pop record. What a great pop record that is.
What about The Elder?
Funnily enough, there's some stuff on The Elder that I quite like.
Yeah.
I am just a boy. Remember?
Yeah.
Quite like some stuff on the older.
Yeah.
Did you like World Without Heroes? Do you remember who the co-writer of World Without Heroes is?
Who was it?
I'm pretty sure that I'm not wrong in saying that it was co-written by Lou Reed.
No. Really?
Let's have a look. World Without Heroes, Paul Stanley, Bob Ezrin, Lou Reed, Gene Simmons. He also wrote Mr. Blackwell with Gene off that album. But A World Without Heroes is a great song.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
A World Without Heroes.
So that's Lou Reed.
Makes you cry, that record, doesn't it?
That's Lou Reed. Well, not really. That's Lou Reed dipping his toes into hard rock and metal, which obviously...
Well, it wasn't, though, was it, really? It was more like Gene Simmons dipping his toes into Velvet Underground kind of vibes.
Yeah. So what made you go back and listen to Dress to Kill?
Just a mad moment when you're going, I don't know what I want to listen to today. Kiss is never the first thing that springs to mind for me when I'm going to go and play music. But I went back to that and I was very glad that I did. It's a tremendous record. Naff production, but it sort of works.
Who produced
Neil
it?
Bogart, who was the owner of Casablanca Records. So clearly you go, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? So the owner of the record label is the man who produces your record. Can you wear two hats like that and be good at both?
In-house job.
Yeah, very much in-house job to save money, I imagine.
Yeah.
But in a way, the really naive production I like. Because there's loads of things you can pick Kiss apart for. Considering how they are so revered in America. They're just like a national treasure there, aren't they?
Mm.
Every time we do interviews with people for Rock Candy magazine about their first ever gig. What was your first ever gig? Oh, Kiss. You go, can't it ever be anyone else but Kiss? No, sorry, it can't. They are loved by all people across the board, from the heaviest thrashers to the glammiest metalers. Would you go down the streets of Newcastle on a Friday night dressed like Paul Stanley?
No.
I haven't seen Kiss in years and years. Did I tell you I once got a shout out from the stage from Paul Stanley?
Why?
I was a really big fan up until I wasn't.
Creatures of the Night.
Even a bit of Lick It Up. So anyway, I went to see him. I paid with my own cold hard cash to go and see them. Do you remember when they used to have these things in the back of the music papers in the UK where they would put on these coaches, go and see Rainbow in Belgium.
Yeah.
And they'd go, it's 50 quid or whatever it was at the time. And you got a hotel, or maybe you didn't get a hotel. Maybe you got a coach that drove there, did the gig, and then literally drove straight back again. Can't remember. But they were in the back of Sounds a lot. And anyway, I decided I wanted to see Kiss in Belgium on the Lick It Up tour. Right. So I bought my own tickets. I went with a friend of mine from uni on one of these dreadful coaches. But I think I must have told somebody at the record company that I was going, and they knew I was a big fan and this and that. I don't really remember how it happened, but we got backstage. I met Paul and Gene. Somebody had obviously said, I think the guy from Karang's go and say hello, he likes you, whatever. Do we fucking have to? Oh, fucking hell. So they went out and said hello to me and all that. And then while they were on stage that night, you hear Paul Stanley, because he was always shouting, wasn't he? Always through shouts. He was always shouting, hey, call the firehouse, and all that nonsense. And halfway through the song, he just goes, hey, Howard Johnson! And the great thing about it is there's a bootleg tape out there of it.
No.
Because somebody sent me it, yeah. And you can hear it. It's really funny.
So you were name checked by Paul Stanley.
Name checked by Paul Stanley, and it's there for all eternity.
Very good.
So I went to see them, but like I say, I just completely fell out of love with Kiss from 83 onwards. It's totally understandable why you like Kiss when you're a kid, isn't it?
Completely.
It's like you're going to the circus or you're reading Marvel, and the songs aren't very complicated and they're quite easy to get into and they're hooky. But then don't you get to the point where you're 22? That's like me still wanting to have an Action Man at home, and I still want to be reading Enid Blyton. I've grown up now.
No, I genuinely thought they were spacemen when I was younger. I thought the same thing about Bowie. Because you got to remember, right, you had no idea who these people were. None. There's no social media. There's nothing. You just look at them and go, I genuinely thought Kiss were from outer space. I
think Bowie's making a better fist of coming across as a genuine alien, rather than just somebody from Brooklyn with a bit of makeup on.
I guess so. When I start putting this out as Kiss, this could cause debate.
Yeah, what are the things that they're going to hang me for? I thought that Kiss was for children. I gave up on Kiss after Lick It Up.
Yeah.
They're not going to like that, are they? But they are going to like the fact that I go, Dress to Kill, great record. Sounds like Chuck Berry.
Yeah, they'll like that. It'll bring out all the people who think Dress to Kill's their best work, who have been too shy to announce it.
Too shy, yeah. And do you know the other thing that I like about Dress to Kill, Hunnsy?
No.
10 songs, I'm just looking at it now. 8 of the 10 songs, less than 3 minutes.
That's good.
Yeah. And that's so unusual in hard rock, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get in, get the job done, get out.
Yeah.
So only Rock Bottom, 3 minutes 54, and She, 4 minutes 08, clock in at over 3 minutes. I think that's incredible. Do you want me to do my Peter Criss on Getaway again?
No.
Anything for My Baby, incidentally, on Dress to Kill. Do you remember how he starts that? I want steel! Anything for my baby. We love you! It's brilliant.
You can't just sing Paul Stanley, can you? You have to...
No, well, it's because that's how he does it.
Yeah, God love him. What a legend he is.
I think I'm better than Paul Stanley, though, as I've just proved.
I don't think you are.
Let's not have a poll on whether I'm better than Paul Stanley.
White Lion's Pride and Kiss's Dress to Kill album. Yeah.
2 fun records. Yet again, we're done and dusted. Hard to believe it goes by so fast, isn't it? Anyway, it's been lovely talking to you, Hunnsy, and I'll see you next week, okay? See you later.
See you later, bye.
Bye.